I want to talk to you about stem cells, but most of the time when we talk about stem cells, what you hear about, we talk about getting stem cells from a source, and then it's a treatment that we get. Stem cells can come from your bone marrow, from your blood, adipose tissue, umbilical cord. But if you think about it, these stem cells come from your blood, your bone marrow, your fat tissue. That means they're already in your body. They're not better because you take them out and you put them back in. So from the early days of stem cell research, the question that really sort of excited me was, if stem cells have such regenerative potential and they're already in the body, what are they doing? What is the natural role of stem cells in the body? And is there a way of tapping into the potential of our own stem cells in our body? So that's really what we'll be talking about. Everything that I'll be talking about, you can find this into my book, Cracking the Stem Cell Code. Before getting into the data, and I have quite a bit of data because I was told people at the RadFest, they like data, so hopefully you'll get plenty. After lunch, I don't know if it's good. So let me start by sort of expressing the two extreme of what I believe is our limitations and opportunities with stem cells. First, this study by Doris Taylor. She took the heart of a mouse, digested the heart with proteolytic enzymes. So within a few hours, you're left with the video stops a few seconds before the end. At the end, you have a heart that is completely white. There's no muscle tissue left. All that you have is the connective tissue, sort of the soft skeleton of the heart. And on top of that, she laid out stem cells isolated from the mouse. And you can see within about a week or two, you get a beating heart in a test tube. This is the power of your own stem cells. I'm sure if I'm asking you, when do you think we build a heart in a test tube? You'll think it's in 20, 30 years from now, and it's something that can already be done. Now, you will never be without a heart. So I'm not saying here, ship your heart to a lab so that they can rebuild another one. What I'm telling you is that you will be in your life with a heart that may be damaged or whatever in your body that can be damaged. If you can repair the heart, you can repair a lot of other things. At the other extreme, there's a reality that is hard to escape. We have evolved over tens of thousands of years with a life expectancy of 30 years of age. Longevity, I'm really sad in that conference to say this, please don't take it personally against me, but we have not selected longevity. It's not part of our biology. Over the past 150 years, we have gained 50 years in longevity, but we did not evolve with it. One of the clear signs of this is that our repair system, the red marrow that makes stem cells, we're born with red marrow, it converts into yellow marrow. By age 30, we have lost about 90% of our red marrow. And that is reflected by a drastic decrease in the number of stem cells in circulation available to participate to tissue repair and maintaining you healthy. So while your stem cells have an enormous power to repair, we fall short of them fairly early in our lives. So when all that science was developed in the early 2001, and we started to see papers being published talking about stem cells, traditionally known to be precursors to blood cells, now having the ability of becoming heart, brain, liver, and everything. At first, it was just a few. Based on that literature, we published an article in the journal Medical Hypotheses suggesting that it looks like really stem cells are the repair system of the body. Now, fast forward 20 years later, I won't go into the details, but here's an animation that really tells you what are your stem cells doing in your body. They are your natural repair system. Anytime you have an injury, here it's shown by a heart attack, the affected tissue will release compounds, granulocyte colony stimulating factor, interleukin-8, stem cell factor. These compounds will go to the bone marrow and will trigger the release of stem cells from the bone marrow. Within 3 to 5 days after an injury, you will have an increase of 3 to 10-fold in the number of stem cells in circulation. Now, these stem cells don't know where to go. When they're released, they have no knowledge of where is the problem. So what is happening is that starting on the second day, the affected tissue will release locally one specific compound called stromal-derived factor 1. So it's released locally in the capillaries of the affected tissue. And as stem cells go everywhere in your entire body, when they circulate in the fine capillaries of the affected area, SDF1 connects with a receptor at the surface of stem cells, which triggers the expression of adhesion molecule. The stem cells will migrate across the capillary wall, then in the tissue, and upon contact with cellular debris of that tissue, stem cells will multiply and transform into cells of that tissue, literally repairing that tissue. Just like you have an immune system, you have a repair system. So we won't have the time to go into the detail of this, but literally, academically, we have a repair system. Every day of your life, when you have an injury, remember when you're 5, 10, whatever, any time in your life, you had an injury, stem cell kicked in to repair. Now, in this whole process, the part that has been the most studied is the release of stem cells from the bone marrow, the consequence of which is an increase in the number of stem cells. So the link between how many stem cells you have in your blood and your ability to repair. So let's go through some of the key conclusions that we can draw from the scientific literature. Number one, more stem cells in circulation means more stem cells are available to participate in tissue repair. So you take two people with the same broken bone, you have seen in your lives, we don't all repair with the same speed and same efficacy. Those who repair fast and well are simply those that have naturally more stem cells in circulation. It's that simple. So that begs the question, if I have a means of putting more stem cells in circulation, can I help the people who are not repairing well to repair better, or can I help anybody just repair better? And here I'm going to show you two examples from the scientific literature. Here's one study with heart attack. Scientists did a knot in the coronary artery to trigger a heart attack. Then they removed that knot, let the animal recover, and divided them, separated them in two groups. One group is control, nothing is done, and the other group, they injected compounds that are known to trigger stem cell release from the bone marrow. So the experimental group just had more stem cells in circulation during 8 to 10 days. When we look at the heart 4 weeks later, we can see in the control group severe scar tissue in the ventricular wall, no new blood vessels, and severe signs of cardiomyopathy. In the experimental group, all they had was more stem cells in circulation. You get a virtually complete renewal of the ventricular wall, new blood vessels tapping into the other ventricules, and normalized cardiovascular function. I won't have the time to go into the detail. The treatment as used in that study cannot be used in humans, but it really tells us that we have the biology to use stem cells to really enhance cardiac repair. The same holds true for cardiac enlargement or scar tissue in the heart after a heart attack. Studies have shown the same. Second example, diabetes. To show that putting more stem cells in circulation can help diabetes, I need to show two things. I need to show that your stem cells can leave your bone marrow, go to your pancreas, and become insulin-producing cells naturally. If I can show that this is a natural process, the next question is, if I put more stem cells in circulation, can I boost this natural process to a point where it has a clinical significance? So here's the first study, a brilliant study done by a group of scientists in which they take female mice, to which they did a genetic mutation. They coupled the gene for insulin for the gene for green fluorescent protein, meaning that in these animals, any cell that is making insulin is also producing green fluorescent protein, so you shed a light on it and it glows green. That means their pancreas is fully green. Now they took female mice that they irradiated and then injected stem cells from the male mice into the female mice. So the female mice, all their body is made of cells with the double X chromosome, but only their stem cells have the Y chromosome. So I can identify if one of those go to the pancreas and it was a stem cell before, it has the Y chromosome. And if it makes insulin, it glows green. It's a beautiful protocol. They isolated a few cells from the pancreas. 2 weeks later, if you look at that cell, you shed a light on it, it glows green. It has transcribed the gene for insulin. Using a red dye for insulin, it is actually making insulin. Very normally making insulin, like productivity is right between the other two cells. By the way, everybody here in this room, you don't have one cell in your pancreas that you're born with. It all came through your process of tissue renewal through this process. And it has the Y chromosome, so it does come from the bone marrow. So that study alone is really nice to illustrate that your stem cells can indeed go to your pancreas and become insulin-producing cells. So now, next study. This is an island of Langerhans, the part of your pancreas making insulin. Scientists have developed a model for diabetes. If you inject streptozotocin, it's a bacterial toxin, these animals, basically it goes to the pancreas and it kills those islets of Langerhans. These animals are diabetic. Now you do the exact same procedure followed by endogenous stem cell mobilization, releasing the animal's own stem cells, and you get a partial recovery of these islets of Langerhans, but it's enough for these mice to be normal in terms of glycemia. They did the same study about 15 years ago in humans, 14 people recently diagnosed for insulin-dependent diabetes. And of those 14, 13 were independent from insulin for at least 3 months, many of them still normal 3 years later when they stopped the study. I'm not telling you we have a cure for diabetes. I'm just telling you there are things that medicine considers as being very hard to repair, like the heart and the pancreas. And here I'm showing you very simple studies showing that if you just put more stem cells in circulation, your stem cells can do the deal. The third conclusion is, to me, probably the most important. It's the opposite of the first two. The first two say, if you have more stem cells in circulation, you can repair better. The third one says, if you happen to have fewer stem cells in circulation than normal, you are at risk for developing degenerative diseases. And these observations came incidentally as people studied the ability of stem cells to repair. The typical study is irradiation of an animal, injection of fluorescent stem cells, you trigger an injury, and you observe the repair of that injury, and you see the tissue repairing with green cells, telling you that stem cells are migrating in that area. So you inject cardiotoxin in the muscle, the leg is paralyzed, 6 weeks later, it is renewed, the muscle is there, reconstituted, but it's green. Same thing in the heart, same thing in the skin after a burn to the skin, same thing in the kidney, same thing in the lung, same thing in the pancreas, the slide we just showed. So as they're doing these studies, scientists are curious, and they started to look at other parts of the body, not where they had the injury. And then this phenomenon just appeared. Stem cells go primarily where there's an injury, but they also go everywhere in the body, just maintaining tissues. So what these studies have shown is that when you have, let's say, 60 years old, you don't have a 60-year-old pancreas, 60-year-old heart or lung or liver. All these tissues are constantly in the process of turnover. You have a new liver every 2-3 years, new pancreas 4 to 6 years, new lung 4 to 6 years, muscle 9 years, half of a new heart every 25 years. These are not hard numbers. This is coming from analysis of various studies. The key point is that everything is in turnover. Now go back to what we just talked about before. By age 30, you've lost 90% of your stem cells. There's a point in your 30s when you realize you're no longer Superman. If that has not happened, wait a little longer, it will come. Now you start to think about your health. That's because you slowly have crossed that line where your tissues continue to lose cells, but you don't have enough to offset that cellular repair, and deficit starts to accumulate. The problem will show up 20 years down the road, but it has started. So I published this concept of the stem cell role in aging about 10 years ago. And in that paper, I was saying there's a way to prove if this is true. Let's go and count the number of stem cells in people who have developed age-related diseases and compare that to people, healthy people of the same age. And many of these now have been done. Let's quickly look at some of them. Diabetes. You count the number of stem cells in the bloodstream of people at various stages of diabetes, there is a straight line. If you look at the number of stem cells in people with kidney failure, to the left, people with normal kidney function, to the right, people with various stages of kidney failure, you can see they have about less than a third of the number of stem cells found in healthy people. If you look at the graph to the right, this is number of stem cells and kidney function. There's a straight line. Erectile dysfunction, people to the right complain of poor erectile function. To the left, normal people. You look at the average, people with erectile dysfunction have less than half the number of stem cells compared to healthy people. You make a graph of stem cell number and erectile function, you get a straight line. Erectile function has a lot to do with vascular function. Look at hypertension, same relationship. COPD, same relationship. Digestive system problem, same relationship. Ischemic heart disease, Alzheimer's, lupus, Parkinson, arthritis. The research continues. Everyone, they look at it, they find the same relationship. All of this, the data to back up this simple conclusion, more stem cells in circulation means that more stem cells are available to participate to tissue repair or to keep you healthy as you age so you don't one day reach that stage where an organ is failing or is developing some sort of disease. So what can we do to put more stem cells in circulation? This is where I started in my research in 1995. I was hired to study this plant. You may have heard of it, blue-green algae from Klamath Lake. And what we were trying to understand is how we could explain so many cases of people who showed very, very significant recovery in condition touching the liver, the pancreas, the heart, the lung, the spinal cord, the brain, the skin, joints. We did not have a mechanism of action. When I started to come across papers showing that stem cells could become blood cells, but also brain, heart, and everything, I thought, what if that plant simply triggers the release of stem cells from the bone marrow? Nobody had ever looked at it. It's the only logical hypotheses that I had to work with. So we bought a flow cytometer. We started to count stem cells. First, we started on ourselves, and it evolved into the famous double-blind, placebo-controlled, and so on studies. And we clearly showed an hour after consumption, we have about 20% increase in the number of stem cells in circulation. Then the question was, we evolved in symbiosis with the environment, so it cannot be that there's only one plant having an effect on stem cells. There are tons of plants having an effect on the immune system. It has to be kind of the same. So how do you find them? We looked at the plants that had been historically associated with a broad variety of health benefits, and we tested them. Goji berry, medicinal mushroom, all of these. The one that were the most interesting were one, sea buckthorn berry from the Tibetan plateau, used for 2,000 years in Tibetan medicine, Chinese medicine, Mongolian medicine for disease of the lung, lung cancer, heart disease, cardiovascular, pancreas, and also to help you repair from bone fracture and burn to the skin. Tells me stem cells. So we derive an extract. This is the field where we do our harvest. We derived an extract, tested it, and we see a different mechanism of action, but a significant increase in the number of stem cells in circulation within 2 hours of consumption. Then we went to remote areas of the world. What do they do in Madagascar? What is their go-to plant that is not in the global economy? They have a plant there called Vahona. Not a plant, a product called Vahona that is used for old people. You want to stay healthy, live forever, you take Vahona. And it's a product that is derived from one specific species of aloe called Aloe macroclada. They have 65 species of aloe. It's the only one they use to make Vahona. We developed our own product from it. Actually, we developed the harvesting of it, the processing of it, because it did not exist. So we have an 80% increase in the number of stem cells after 3 hours. So I don't have the time here to go through many cases of what we have. We have cases touching just about everything. Here's a preliminary report from one study that was started about a year ago on chronic stable congestive heart failure. So people have at least 2 years of stable chronic congestive heart failure, and then we put them on a blend of these plants that mobilizes their own stem cells. So think injection, you put stem cells in the bloodstream, you increase the number of stem cells in circulation through an injection. Now we simply increase the number of stem cells in circulation through releasing your own. The advantage is that you can do this for a long time, repetitively, 3-6 months. In that study, after 6 months, everyone starting with stable congestive heart failure after 6 months have normal cardiac function. It's preliminary, it's an ongoing study. That study has actually 3 groups. One is this blend of plants, one is adipose stem cell injection, and the other one is a combination of both. And what we're seeing is that when you combine both, this is when you actually get the strongest type of results. So all of this to lead us to the general take-home message here. Your stem cells are your natural repair system. If we look at it like we would look at any system in the body, look at the immune system, lymphoid tissue releasing a specific type of cells, immune cells that will go through a very coordinated process to a site of infection to go and kill a pathogen. Here you have your bone marrow releasing a very specific type of cells, CD34 cells, that will go in a very coordinated manner to the site of injury, and they will migrate there and they will repair that tissue. It is your repair system. Your ability to repair directly is tied to how many stem cells are available to participate in that process of tissue repair. Most age-related disease, all of them so far looked at, are linked to a deficiency in how many stem cells you have in circulation. And if you have a way of putting more stem cells in circulation, you're going to enhance your ability to repair and also prevent the development of various diseases. There are various things that you can do to put more stem cells in circulation. You can run a marathon, but running a marathon every day is not really doable. You can do severe exercise, but these are about, you can fast for more than 3 days, but of course you cannot fast more than 3 days, much more than 3 days. So in the meantime, something to put more stem cells in circulation are these plans that I just talked about. I hope it was not too technical. I guess not with this crowd. Thank you so much.